The last day of 2023 felt a lot like so many Sundays this season. A loss by the locals in Landover. A close game for a while turned into a relatively easy win for the visitors. And with that, turning the page to 2024. One more game remains, with draft positioning perhaps the top priority. A new year beckons with the same old questions. What's wrong? How do they get it right? Who's going to fix it? And how long until the home fans can be proud again? Let's dive in on this Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus.
The man
Call somebody,
is back,
call
y'all.
somebody.
We're back.
Call
He's
your
back.
mama, call your daddy.
We're back and we're back.
We're
back. Tony
The whole
McGee,
crowd back, y'all.
We're back. Tony
Hey.
McGee.
Come on. Tony McGee, Pro Football Plus. Tony McGee, Pro Football Plus. Tony McGee, Pro Football Plus. Tony McGee. What's up?
Happy New Year from Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus. Yes, we're here in another year. Hope we can do some things different. And what we're going to do today, we're going to take Tony's take. I'm going to give you a little summary on what the game was doing, but also what we're going to do during this show. Let's go to the game. Once again, we have a team that did not play up to the speed that they needed to. At the same time, they did run the ball better, so that means the offensive line is improving. But our defensive backs, I just cannot get with these guys for the reason that it's okay to get beat, but don't be standing up there if you mess around and win 1 out of 5 and you be waving and pointing to yourself. Then you look at this team as a whole. Our coordinator, they got rid of the defense coordinator later than they should have. Not just because of the way he was coaching, but some other situations. Then you look at the head coach, he allowed them to get rid of his best 2 pass rushers. How can you expect this team to really be what it could have been? Going into this season, we all felt this team was good. We all felt this team would go to the playoffs, but we did not know we had the wrong personnel. So right now, that anyone that you see out there, fans, that's not you will not see them here next year. But if you look around the league, you look at all the teams, we look at Philadelphia. Everybody thought a little bit that they were going to be the greatest thing ever. Look at Kansas City, how they're struggling. Look at how you got 4 or 5 teams that are 8-8 and still have a chance to get into the playoffs. So this whole season has been a wreck. But we have to take care of this Washington Commander team. Yes, we're going to do their last game. Then we're going to do 2 more shows. But at the same time, my take on this is, we started with the wrong horse in the race. And I brought some people in that know about horses, and we'll get to talking to them. First, we went back. I used to play in New England. We had a young man there, and he's there. He was there after me. I ain't going to say he was there with me, but he's very nice. We got Kyle Arrington back in the house. Kyle, how you doing? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Thank you for having me. I'm doing well. Everybody happy and healthy on this end, so no complaints.
There you go. Alex, how you been doing? How's your New Year going?
I'm good, Tony. Thank you. Happy New Year. I'm fine. I have no complaints. We're healthy. That's all that matters. Thank you, Tony.
G, did you just get in out of the clubs a few minutes ago? We know you was out all night probably.
I was just finishing up polishing your cars, Mr. McGee, making sure that your cars were fine, make sure the limousine and the roads was all on point. I'm going to get to your porch a little later. As soon as this show is over, I'll make sure I sweep the porch off.
I didn't know they still polished 1979 cars. With that being said, Donna, how you doing? You had to go in and stomach that game. So Happy New Year. And I tell you, it's been a real, and I'll start with you. You've seen this team. One thing I do have to say, and I was going to say it in Tony's take, but I'm going to say it now. We've been defending this quarterback long enough. On that game, he had an opportunity to let this team get back into the game and make it a game. What did he do? Throw an interception for almost a TD. You just look at this whole thing, 2 interceptions in great times is bad. One thing I did see, the offensive line ran the ball a lot better. We should have gone there right away, Donna. Do you not think so? But when you look at this team, 1 game left, what do you expect from them? I mean, they got to know they're playing for their jobs. But one thing, Don, I do want to ask you, it seems as though that change with the defensive backs, those younger defensive backs were hungry, and they played pretty well to be their first or second game.
Absolutely right, Tony. Not only the defensive backs that were in, because Benjamin St. Jude's and Kendall Fuller was out on Sunday. So you had Holmes and some of those young guys in. And for the first part of the game, as far as the first half, this defensive team played well. You saw a little more pressure up front, and they held them to 10 points at one point, and the Commanders tied it up at 10-10. Going into this game, Tony, I thought it was going to be a blowout. I thought San Francisco was going to walk all over this team. We were saying they were going to put up 30 to 40 points, but at the beginning of the game, the first half, this Commanders team was holding their own. And you talked a little bit about the offensive line, Tony. The offensive line, to me, did a tremendous job for the most part. They had a lot of new people plugged in there also. Cornelius Lucas and then Ladik Charles was two of the new guys that was in there. And when you go against Bosa anytime, and then you got Chase Young on the other end, who said after the game that he played okay, he wished he would have played better, but still Bosa, I watched him, Tony, the line play, and Lucas held his own against him because the pressure was there, but I thought the offensive line played way better. And like you said, they ran the ball, something that we've been talking about all year long. So when you talk about this team and you look at the scope of them right now, I thought that, it wasn't bad considering, the people that was in. We were talking about a quarterback change. Jacoby was supposed to come in, had a hamstring injury on Thursday. So that changed the dynamics to have Sam back in. Those two turnovers that they had changed everything, because for the most part, this Commanders team was in the game, Tony, something that I thought that we wouldn't be talking about. Should they play better? Yeah, Tony, but they had a lot of people in, and I think for the first time in a long time, you saw a lot of new energy from this team. You saw a fight up front that we haven't seen in a long time from the offensive line.
Alex, did they just want to play? Did they want to play the same quarterback again, or do you think there really was an injury to the man that should have been in there?
Ooh, Tony.
I'm just talking like I see it.
That is a wonderful question. I don't think any reasonable person can help but wonder if Jacoby Brissett really has this hamstring issue. It just sort of came out of nowhere on Friday. All the beat writers are tweeting, oh, by the way, on the injury report, Jacoby Brissett might not be able to play because of a hamstring. It sure seems convenient. Let's put it that way. He showed as well as he can show for potential other teams, although his potential other team ought to be this team, because he's been great for this team when he's been in there. 4 drives, 4 touchdowns. I don't know what else folks want. It did put Sam Howell back in a bizarre circumstance. And for the first half, he played okay. He looked more like the Sam Howell the first 10-ish, 8 to 10 games, when he was sort of showing that maybe he could be, and maybe he still will be, the quarterback of the future. But he didn't look good the last half of that game. And now I don't think anybody would be shocked if with the number 2 pick, which right now they sit in that 2 spot, Tony, even if they fall to 3, even if they fall to 4, there's going to be a quarterback there, whether it's Caleb, for the fellow at USC, Caleb, whether it's the guy at LSU, Daniels, the guy at UNC, Drake May. Somebody's going to be there for them. And I think this muddled quarterback situation of the last 2 or 3 weeks is no clearer than it was then, except for the fact that the draft's positioning has gone up. I think everybody would be shocked if they don't go quarterback, as one of those elite guys, at least they look elite on the draft board, is going to be sitting there for them. But with this town, Tony, and this team, there's always a quarterback issue, controversy, quandary, whatever you want to call it. And we still have one. There's only 1 game left, and we're still kind of sitting right there.
Well, I'm going to say you're right about that, but it didn't have to be any kind of controversy for the simple aspect. The young man was not getting the job done, even though he's an early player. We all are in our first or second year. But at the quarterback position, you cannot afford to be a 50% player. You got to be a player that make plays. You can't be, and I think he got a little gun shy in the pocket. Okay. Offensive line had problems, but at the same time, that's what they pay you for. That's what quarterbacks are for. And speaking of that, I did not see on Sunday, G-Man did not get to the receivers until a crucial time, and they help bring them back in the game. Let me ask you this. Do you think the quarterback is a little gun shy right now? You've been with 2 or 3 of the greatest. Tell me what you think.
I don't think so. I mean, if you get hit enough, you get gun shy. If you get the crap knocked out of you, get a little bit of gun shy. But I don't think that's in his makeup. His makeup seems like he's a tough guy, quite honestly. So I don't think that's the problem. I think he's just young, quite honestly. I think he's young, and I think that he has probably receivers on the team like I was. Like I'm always going to tell my quarterback I was open, even if I wasn't open. I was going to tell him I was open. I was going to tell him to throw me the ball. I was going to tell him to give me opportunities. So if I'm a receiver, I like Hal. I want him because I know he'll take a shot on me. If I can convince him to throw me the rock, he'll throw me the rock. But I just think this year it's just been,
Unbelievable.
You always find somebody to blame at the end of the day. And like I've always said, quarterbacks get too much credit and they get too much blame. It's always been that way. A lot of times you see defenses win games a lot of times, and they still want to give a quarterback credit for it. So this is one time I think he's probably.
Gary, you mind repeating that? that might have been the first time.
It comes down to that. A lot of times you just,
You wanted to hear his voice say that again.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I don't normally hear Gary give defensive guys their flowers.
I give defense their props for sure. Don't get me wrong, offense wins games, because worst thing you could do is unless defense scores.
There he is.
Get back. Defense scores points too. So
Kyle, you brought him back. See, he was doing it.
There
we
he
had him on our side for a minute.
Hey, but
Kyle,
that's a tough thing for me because I like the other quarterback as well, the one that has the hamstring injuries. If I could run with a hamstring injury, you damn sure could play quarterback with a hamstring injury. So that I'm not sure. I think they should have picked another injury, quite honestly. Like not my hamstring if I'm a quarterback.
Oh, you're right with Tony saying that it wasn't an
injury.
So I'm not saying that he wasn't injured. I'm just saying that typically you can play with a hamstring injury, especially if you're a quarterback.
Hey Gary, you're cut from a different cloth. Hey Gary, you're cut from a different cloth.
Exactly. Cal, speaking of cloths, and you were in New England in the glory days and everything, and you've seen this team when it was in its glory days. You've seen them both go down. This has been a terrible year in a way for both of them. What similarities did you see between this Washington team and your old New England team?
Lack of talent will be the first thing that comes to mind. Even just starting when it comes to the Washington Commanders football team. I'm just going back to the game this past Sunday versus the 49ers. Honestly, if you look at them on paper, they really stood no chance. But it's particularly when you have as many injuries as they did in key positions, where they had them, and as the defense, the secondary is concerned. This 49ers football team arguably has probably some of the best talent from top to bottom. So, it was already tough sledding heading into that game. And, just looking at the Patriots, I know it was with one more game left, but just looking at their body of work this season. So once again, quarterback not really controversy, just poor quarterback play in general from whomever has been under center. And it's just, once again, not enough difference makers on the offensive or defensive side of the ball is, like I said, really the first thing that comes to mind when it comes to comparisons versus the seasons with Washington and New England.
And this seems as though, and you take back, even back when the time when I played, you just think about Washington, and when we were the Washington Redskins, went to the Super Bowl with 3 different quarterbacks, one, 2 out of 3, and you take a look at it, and you look now, every team that has a good quarterback, and then, you said something good, Kyle. He is young, but what about all these other young quarterbacks that's performing at a high level, getting their teams to the playoffs? I know he hasn't played that much. At the same time, it's just the crucial mistakes at the crucial time. On Sunday, I felt had he made the big throw at the right time, they were going to be back in that game. And you can look at San Francisco. Guys start having their hands on their hips, looking over at the sideline, looking for somebody to come in. They were getting ready to maybe fold a little bit. But now that you look on our side of the ball, one thing I can say, nobody's mentioned, but we do have a linebacker that played very well. He's our player of the week. But at the same time, our defensive line, they were okay. once again, I applaud those defensive backs. They were young, they were aggressive, and they were playing hard. But at the same time, each and every time you see them, we always get a play where the other team gets a touchdown and none of our people are even in the film. When we come back, we'll have to talk about that a little bit. We'll talk about what the defense did. But one thing we can't leave without saying, the offense did improve, the line improved, but it didn't save any jobs. We'll be back in a moment.
Next.
It's my first #1 seed in 14 seasons, so, you know, the shots out there, Arizona. Well, you know, when they dealt me away for nothing, I still had a lot left in the tank. And, you know, I think maybe my layoff and battling cancer and stuff, I know a lot of people probably would think that nobody could come back normal, you know, especially at that age. So, you know, I had to bet on myself. You know, obviously go to a new organization, but, you know, it's all part of God's plan. Really thankful for my 10 years here. And I think it just made me a better professional overall going to my next chapter.
You bettered yourself and you won.
Yeah, that's always good. That's always good, especially, you know, when you have to prove people wrong, prove your worth, you know, and it goes as it should. And, you know, the hard work pays off. It's always good.
Every game I feel like I could play better. This one, I feel like definitely could have played better. Wish he would have held the ball a little bit more. But, you know, it's all good. We did our job. We did everything we do to get the W.
Hey, Chase, what has it been like for you being out in San Francisco with your new team?
Been great. I love this team, love the coaching. You know, it was a blessing to come to, you know, just such a great organization, just a history. And, you know, just trying to take full advantage.
You know, Don, that was a great interview. And, you know, when I look at those two individuals, you tell me what you think. That was 4 wins right there between the two of them at least.
Hey, Tony, Tony, you're absolutely right. But this is the thing that you look at with this Commanders team where they've got it wrong over the years. They've given away so many great players on the offensive line. Trent Williams was just one of them. And as he said, they dubbed him for almost nothing. This team didn't get anything for him. And he still had a lot of football yet to be played. 10 some years later, Tony, making an impact there in San Francisco, could have still been on this team along with 4 or 5 other offensive linemen that the Commanders have let go, because that's what we've been talking about over and over, this offensive line that has not been good for at least 10 plus years, because you're talking about Trent Williams, you're talking about Sheriff, you're talking about Morgan Moses, you're talking about Eric Flowers. That's 4 people, Tony, that could be on this offensive line, and you let them go. And then on the defensive side, we already know that, Tony, as far as letting Chase and letting Montez Sweat go. So you let go key players in this organization that could have helped this team be better, and they got away. And as they said, there's no hard feelings, Tony, from these teams, because guess what? Both of those 2 players that we just heard from are in the playoffs. They won the first seed, and if they're still mad about it, they shouldn't be, because they're with a winning organization.
And you know, the thing about that is the bad thing you're saying is a lot of these key players that they have drafted are good players, but only for other teams. That really is astounding to think about. That offensive line is 4 other people in different places that are going into the playoffs to play for this offensive line. And here we are struggling. But at the same time, Cal, you see this with your team up in New England. It happened to teams. And this team right here, do you think personnel wise, they're talking about getting rid of individuals. I'm going to ask you two questions. Number one, do you think Eric Bieniemy has earned the chance to be the head coach here if it's a head coaching change? And number two, have you seen that they're talking about even getting rid of people in the front office? I don't know if that, not that they haven't drafted good players, but the coaches haven't kept the good players that they drafted. Do you feel that way?
Well, to answer your first question, absolutely. I think it's been long overdue for Eric Bieniemy to have opportunity to be a head coach in the National Football League. Now, whether that happens or not next year, we have to wait and see. Now, in terms of what's the term they use? Cleaning house. I don't know if cleaning house it will be not to disrespect Gary, the legend Gary Clark or anything like that. Because I mean, but Gary, we're being honest, it's been the in the DMV around here, it's been the definition of insanity since the early mid '90s. Since guys like yourself played with this Washington football team. So maybe it's time to scorch earth, and instead of using the term cleaning house, maybe it's got a scorched earth right now and just rebuild. Sometimes you walk into a house and say, hey, this house has good bones. I don't even know if it has good bones, at this point in time right now. And when it comes to people being able to bring in the right players, bring in the right coaches, I mean, for the most part, not all the time, but for the most part, it has to align. The stars have to align between ownership, front office, coaching, and talent on the field. And that just hasn't been the case for some odd years now here in DC. So I think we got to take a hard look in the mirror this off season, and I firmly believe, with new ownership, I think that's something that they may be leaning towards to do.
That's unfortunate, but I do hope Eric gets this opportunity. We have people right here that feels that he'll probably go with them, but at the same time, new ownership usually come in and they want to lose with their people, and hopefully that's not, because if you think about the front office has done a pretty good job with drafting. Got a lot of starters in the league that they drafted. The only problem is, as I said, they're not with this team.
Tony, hold on for a minute. Let's back up a little bit. You're talking about the front office has done a good job of drafting and putting this team together. No, Tony, if that's the case, we'd be talking about this team being in the playoffs. This is where it's been some hiccups as far as the player personnel, the people that they bought in here. They've had some wins, but you look at the draft picks with Coach Rivera over his 4-year tenure here, Tony. Most of them have not been panned out for this team. And when you look on down the road, as far as player personnel under Dan Snyder, the people that he had in here assessing talent and all of that, they let some of the good people that was good at assessing talent get away. And I think that this is one of the areas that need to be strengthened is player personnel, making sure you get the right people in here with the draft and also with free agency. So I disagree with you that they did a good job there.
Donna, you've made enough mistakes in the last 30 years that I'm going to let you say that. But
I think Donna hit the nail on the head. I think Donna hit the nail on the head right there, Tony. If I for 1 second.
Yeah, but think about this now, guys. Think about this. If those players weren't good players, they wouldn't be starting on playoff teams. This is not the playoff team. So maybe
those are four, Tony. Those are four.
But Tony, one thing to consider, we all know this as people who played the game before, especially not every person is for every system as well, because it works both ways. You could say that front office has not done a great job of bringing in the right players. But sometimes, they bring in players who have thrived in other systems and it has not panned out at Washington. You got some guys in Washington where, they just don't pan out and they thrive. And so it's like, once again, Donna says, bringing in the right players for the right system.
G, tell me this. As you look around the league, and, it seems like wide receivers are making these teams. You look at that Philadelphia team, when their big man didn't play on Sunday, look what happened to him. You look around the league, you look at Kansas City, they got rid of Hill, and now he's gone to Miami and changed the whole atmosphere there. But at the same time, you look at, we got receivers, and I want to just ask your opinion. Where do our receivers rate in the NFL? I think we know Terry's an all-pro, but the other four, tell me what you think.
I think as a group of receivers, honestly, I think they're one of the best receiving core in the NFL. I mean, they just really are. When they play, when they get the chance to get the football, when they do get the football, they all put up numbers. They do. I mean, they're a good receiving core. Quite honestly, I think they're the best receiving core I've seen here as a group of receivers, not individual receivers, but as a group of receivers since we played. I mean, their fourth guy could start on any other team in the league. I mean, that's how good they are. So I think the biggest problem right now with the Commanders is, like, I've never been a big fan of blaming coaches for anything. My coach is just supposed to give me a strategy to go into the field, and it's our job as players to tweak the strategy that's been provided to us, because we the guys that actually play the game. You know, a lot of times you have a coach who never even played your position. So I'm going to listen to the play that he gives me and the strategy behind the play that he gave me. But if he's not a player that's played in this league for a long time, I'm not going to go beyond that.
I think you hit it right on the head. But Alex, here's what I want to ask you. Brian Robinson came back and he showed that with good effort from the offensive line, he could be a 1,000-yard runner. Do you see them keeping him as their featured back, or do they go into the draft looking to get another back?
Tony, yeah, they're a different team and a better team when he's in there. And we saw that Sunday against San Francisco. If we were going to list the 5 or 8 or whatever biggest issues or needs, running back, I don't think is chief among them. I think figuring out the quarterback situation is 1. I think offensive line is 2. I think defensive line is probably 3, given the guys that they let go. Somewhere on that list, no team's perfect. And could they upgrade running back? Sure. I don't think that is chief among what their needs are, assuming that Brian Robinson and that group, that running back room, they're really good. In a way, they're sort of like the receiving group that Gary touts. They don't have a McLaurin who's all pro level, but they got guys that can, when they get the chance to run it. How many times we watched the game, Tony, and in the second half they ran the ball 6 times? You know, even though it may have been a 1-score game or a 2-score game. So I don't know how much opportunity these folks have had. But Brian Robinson, if we were going to list all of their needs, I think they're pretty set there with him and them. Could they take a guy late in the draft? Of course. But I think most folks would assume that quarterback, O-line are what they're going to be looking at primarily draft-wise and presumably in free agency.
Hey,
How about
Alex,
the
if they pick a quarterback, if they pick a quarterback in the draft, I'm getting ready to fire everybody all over again.
Why are you going to do that, Don? They can
Tony, offensive lineman for the last 10 years or so, we've been talking about, you even said this, Tony, you build a team from the offensive line, defensive line. You build it from there, and then you go from there. So if they're looking quarterback-wise in the draft again, they're not going to address key needs. And to me, they need 3 offensive linemen. I'm going 3 offensive linemen in the draft, and then I'm going as far as a linebacker. So, Tony, I wanted to ask you, so in building this team, and they may lose Antonio Gibson this year, free agency, so you would have Brian Robinson and Chris Rodriguez. But, Tony, if you're building the Washington Commanders, and Coach Rivera said for the last 2 years, is this team is so close. Well, we saw this year that this team is not as close as he thought they were, because they've got a lot of pieces that they need to fix from the quarterback. If Sam is not your quarterback, offensive lineman, definitely. And then you've got some hiccups on the defensive side. So if you're building this team for this Commanders team, do you need to blow it up a lot? Because it's not going to happen overnight that this team is going to be good next year, because there's a lot of pieces that's missing. Where do you start from? And like I said, if you say quarterback, I'm putting you on putting you in timeout.
Tony,
the only reason I got a couple of minutes to get this whole thing out of, because you hit some good points, Donna. I don't know. Gary must be giving you some notes or something.
Never.
So I don't know how you got all that right. But at the same time, only reason I would say quarterback for the simple aspect that my quarterback situation is not set. And if you have an opportunity at 2 or 3 to get a very good quarterback, you have to take advantage of that, because you're looking at the future. But if I can't get this quarterback, you're right. I go with both lines. I go with the offensive line first, but I don't know if I got to get him in the first round. I can get a second and a third round offensive lineman that'll help and can start right away. I also would go with the defense, but I would go for a linebacker. I need a linebacker. See, those 2 young defensive ends they got right now, they're playing what they know. They haven't played many games, but you can see something with them. and you still got your two big defensive tackles. Linebackers, we got one linebacker that's playing pretty well, but linebacker has been a problem for the last 4 or 5 years. So therefore, I'm looking at building from the defensive side, but I'm also looking at building from both lines, because you look at San Francisco, you look at the Ravens, you look at the teams that are dominating right now. They had a year where they drafted either a couple of defensive linemen or either a couple of offensive linemen. So what you're saying is correct. The game starts at the line of scrimmage, and that's the way I would go. When we come back, we'll talk about around the league, because you know what? The Washington team is not the only team stumbling. Dallas got a rabbit foot in their pocket, and colder are my nights. I'll be back in a minute.
What's up?
As I told your family, we are going to be here for 3 more weeks after this one. It doesn't matter the Commanders are not going to be here. We will be here. But speaking of not being there, Don, I noticed all your interviews end up being with San Francisco. Now Trey and Chase is not with us anymore. What's up with that? You didn't talk to none of our guys. Is that because they're the number one in the NFC?
Yeah, Tony, I went straight to the San Francisco locker room because you know what? They were waiting for the Philadelphia Eagles to either win or lose. And by Philadelphia losing, they are the number 1 seed in the NFC. And they get that bye, and they said it's important. And Tony, I went to the winning locker room, but the Commanders locker room, they were like, all for the first, 5 weeks or 6 or 7 weeks, it's been a losing locker room, and they look like the air has been let out them. But Tony, let me talk to you about what the 49ers said about being in the playoffs and, how important it was for them to get that first bye. So let's go into the locker room.
Could you talk a little bit about the favor from the Arizona Cardinals and just getting that extra rest now?
Yeah, that means the world. So shout out to the Cardinals, man. Appreciate you guys. That was huge. I think we all need it. I know I need it. So I'm excited to, just take a breath and get everything back to normal.
Could you talk a little bit about this 49ers team as you finish the season and head into the playoffs? How do you see the team as a whole?
Man, I think I love our team. I love this team so much. I mean, we have so many guys with the right attitude, such a fun team to be on. Guys with the right mindset. I think when you turn the tape on, you can see everyone's character on tape, and I think everyone holds each other to the same standard and holds themselves to the same standard, and just a fun team to be a part of. Obviously, there's always room to grow and get better, and I think we'll look at the tape today and realize that. But I love where we're at, and I think we're still hungry, and we know we can still get better.
We just accomplished one goal. We still got a big goal to accomplish. We're still getting better. We still got, room to improve. And we definitely want to be firing on all cylinders, by the time the playoffs come around. So we got to take these next couple weeks, even though, we might rest some guys next week, might even have, with the bye week coming after that. I think that's a time for us to kind of hone in on the little stuff and, kind of focus on us for a few weeks, and hopefully, that'll translate over when we, jog out there for that first game.
Yeah, we got one more game, so we ain't done yet. But I feel like this team is built off excellence, and I'm happy to be a part of it. And I know all these boys is locked in, just because we know, what's at stake.
Right now, the 49ers is the best team in the NFC, but do you think that they're starting to fade somewhat, as well as you look at Philadelphia? Do you think that that's over? Or what do you think's happening there? Because I tell you, had they not got that interception when they had it, I think that the Washington team would have been right back in this game.
No.
So you messed around with Donna. You ain't even listening to me no more.
Hey, because you wasn't saying nothing, Tony.
No, they did. I'm going back to the just to put a bow, I guess, on this Washington and 49ers game. They did have opportunities, but once they too many costly mistakes late in the game, it just kind of put a wrap on on that for the last game. But when I look around the league, though, I'm looking at teams like Detroit had a very great opportunity on the national stage to show what they're about, and I still think there will be a force to be reckoned with coming to playoffs. And speaking of Detroit, I really like Dan Campbell as a head coach. He might be one of my favorite head coaches in the league. I'm just going back and thinking back to last year when I want to say they lost maybe like their third, fourth game in a row. And he was crying in front of the reporters. And to me, that really showed a lot of vulnerability. It showed that he cared. It showed that, and it's something that players can resonate with and they can come together around. So that I really like Detroit as a football team. I think like leadership there is the number one thing. Then obviously you have your Cowboys, everybody's favorite regular season NFL team. When it comes to the postseason, once again, maybe definition of insanity. But one team I will point out, though, I think is someone to be reckoned with in the playoffs is going to be the LA Rams, and which I think is an underrated storyline that has been this year in national football. A lot of great deserving storylines, but I think this one has been underrated just because of where they were. I think week 9, middle of the season, I think they were 3 games underneath 500, and for them to roll off 6 of their last 7, and you got to chalk that one of the games that they lost to was to the Ravens. So this team is hot right now. You talk about wanting to play the best football in February, right around Thanksgiving, and that's something they have done. And they even remind me of the New York Giants when under Eli they snuck into the playoffs. Those two chances they won the Super Bowl as wild card teams, and so that team is hot. Definitely any team should be leery of playing them when it comes to the postseason right now.
Come on, Cal, the LA Rams, they ain't that hot.
Oh, yes, they are down there. I ain't going to let you get away with that. That's a dangerous team. That's a dangerous team.
And they almost beat the Ravens in Baltimore. They could have.
I know you got something to say about the Ravens. I like the Ravens too, but you got to look at that team. They've been to the Super Bowl before. They got a good coach. They got their players well, and they got their quarterback back. So I look at it as a big thing. Now I'm like you. You tell me, and I think the Ravens is the best team in the NFL right now. But one injury will change that. So what you tell me what you think about that? You don't think the Rams right now are playing well?
No, Tony, you're right. No, the Ravens to me are the hottest team right now. They're clicking on all cylinders. First time since 2019, they clinched that NFC North division. And when you look at what Lamar Jackson did against the Dolphins, he just put his foot on the accelerator. They beat the Dolphins on both sides of the ball, defensively and offensively, 56-19. You hold a Dolphins offense to that many points. You've got to love Tony the Ravens defense, because they're back to that Super Bowl defense, and now they're clicking with the receivers. I like them, but you talked about the Rams. Okay, the Rams have played well in the last stretch and everything, but this is important, Tony. You and Cal talked about a team being hot going in. San Francisco, in that interview, Chris McCaffrey hurt his calf in that game. That hammered him some last year during that playoff stretch or going into that. And right now he's nursing a calf injury again. So this bye week for them going into the playoff is going to be key for him, because he is key for this team being on that field if they're going to meet. But I like the Ravens. I think the Ravens, to me, I would pick them right now to win the Super Bowl.
Now, Donna.
But I don't want you to get off though. Okay, I want to ask G something. G, she's saying she liked the Ravens now, but a few weeks ago, Kansas City was her heartthrob.
I didn't say Kansas City was my heart. So don't put that on me.
Taylor Swift to come in and took her place, so she's not for them. But all joking aside, Kansas City, tell me, Tyreek Hill, is he the difference as well as the enemy not being there? Because Kansas City is in trouble.
I think the biggest thing is definitely not having Tyreek. That hurts you, because he's such a great receiver, great playmaker, game breaker, that whole thing. But honestly, their receivers just been dropping a lot of balls. Their quarterback has been on point the whole season. He's on point. If I hit me in my hands right here and I drop it multiple times, It's not the quarterback's fault. I mean, it's just not. I mean, there's so many drop balls that's happened throughout the course of the year. But one thing about Kansas City, you can never count them out. You'll just be an idiot if you would count them out. You know, it'd be like counting out, you know, a team that always gets in the back when we play. If we was in the playoffs, don't count us out. We don't have to be the number 1 seed, but don't count us out. And don't tell us that you're counting us out, because then I'm gonna come back and kick. So, I mean, I'm not going to count Kansas City out until Kansas City's out. And don't get me wrong, the purple teams are just kicking everybody's butt right now.
I'm there with you on that, but at the same time, we're going to take a
I'm telling you, Tony, it'd be like counting us out when we didn't have the first season. We had to go to Chicago. We had to go the long way around to come back to get the advantage.
Well, you know what? Think about that. Kansas City, don't count them out, but it's just like when you go hunting. You young people don't know about that. You take a dog out there that's supposed to hunt, and it won't bark. It ain't going to work. We'll be back in a moment.
All right, guys, this is the workout that we're going to do today. Not me, but Don is going to do today. It's called my front room workout. And that's not the cardio weight workout, but it's going to be a cardio involved just a little bit. So Donna, you might be on your own, but you're going to have fun because the workout that I have for you is going to be awesome. It's going to be cardio and weights. Over here, sit down, get a little core in. This will be great for you, Donna. Yeah, just like this. Look on. Out. For advance, you can put your hands like that and do it. So now I'm going to go down and push up and let my hamstring do the work. Go down slow, come down, then push up, look, lightning, and let them do the work. Whoo! That's gonna get you, girl. Then you come over here. We got hanging abs. 35 seconds. Keep up here, up, down, up, down, up, down, up for 35 seconds. I've been there, Shorty. That is why you are doing it today. Go up. There you go. Do it again. I'm glad that over. One more time. Do it again. Up. Okay. All right. Bring your knees up. Up. There you go. If you can, keep them up right here and try to come up here. So it's up. Yes. Up. Can anybody do that, Ricky? You saw me do it. You can. All right, here we go.
Well, another great fitness tip for Ricky Irvins. He's talking about how important it is to have a strong core and also strong hamstrings, because we were talking about hamstring pulls this time. But Tony, let's go around the league because it's a lot of teams that's hanging by the thread right now trying to get in that back door. And let's
Donna, before you start, it's a big difference between hamstrings and choking, okay?
Okay, I ain't say that to you all. Tony's still trying to say that you didn't have a hamstring injury. But Tony, the Browns is a team that you like from the start of the season. And right now, they're trying to get in the playoffs with Joe Flacco. They play the Bengals this week. They can clinch the playoffs berths for the first time since 2020. Talk about the Cleveland Browns, because like Cal said, this is a team that's starting to click right now, that's playing strong because Joe Flacco is hot right now, Tony.
Well, and if you think about the prior quarterback, he was just getting back into the game, so he wasn't top dog. His best game was the game where he got hurt. But at the same time, Flacco has been there. He knew about the Super Bowl. He's been a Pro Bowler. He plays well. I wish we could have got him there this year, and we may be talking about Washington being in the playoffs. I like that team. And the one thing that always going to carry them is their defense. They have an excellent defense. We were worried because they lost Chubb, a big running back, but they got another young man they're working in pretty good now. This Cleveland team is a team that everybody, even the Ravens, better watch. And the one thing about it, the only team that seems to know how to beat Cleveland time and time again is Pittsburgh. And somebody need to mention them too, because I tell you what, Pittsburgh, everybody said they were lucky in the beginning. Everybody said they couldn't keep winning, but they just continue to win. And they continue to be a good team.
And Mike Tomlin has basically, again, 17 seasons and he's been with Pittsburgh. They've had winning records. But Cal, The Bears are at the Packers, and about a month ago, the Packers looked like they were dead in the waters, and all they have to do is beat the Bears, and they're in the playoffs. They've got a great pass rushing. We saw what they did on Sunday night. How do you see the Packers going into the playoffs if they can beat Chicago, which Chicago, to me, has played well ever since they beat the Commanders?
No, I don't think there's ever been a question of talent when it comes to Jordan Love. I think it's just been the time to give him the cohesion, the chemistry, and kind of like the intangibles that it takes and it needs to go out there, win football games. That you're talking, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And yes, they've been playing great football. The Bears as well have been playing great football. I mean, anytime Justin Fields is out there, he's always must-see TV himself. But now I guess I had a point. No, in the last block that when I was talking about the LA Rams, I didn't know. I wasn't saying that I was going to put all my money on FanDuel on them as far as the playoffs was concerned. I was just saying to be on the lookout for them as a dark horse potentially, because they remind me a lot of the once again of the New York Giants, who I still have a little trauma. I guess you could say from but no. Yeah, I'm about to say those Giants every time. No, but just going back to that purple and gold, the Ravens. I mean, they are a complete team. They are a hungry team, and they are a team playing with the chip on the shoulder as well. So when it comes to power, if you want to talk about power ranks, clearly it's Baltimore, then it's San Fran in terms of who will potentially be the matchup for the Super Bowl. But nonetheless, I really feel like it's going to be a very interesting and exciting postseason.
Hey, Alex, you got the Texans at the Colts, and both of these teams have to win if they're going to get into the playoffs.
Donna, I'll take the Colts. I think they've got something going in Indy. It's never pretty. Frankly, it's not pretty with any of the teams in that division. But I think I'll take the Colts in this. I believe they need some help, and who knows whether they can get in, with the help if they get the win, etc. But I'll take them. I'll just go back and piggyback what so many folks have said. The Ravens are really something. When you were talking with Christian McCaffrey, Donna, and he was talking about what makes that team so good, and it was sort of like cool to hear him talk about all of it and how they hold each other accountable and all the great stuff they're doing in San Francisco. And I'm thinking, man, what a football team. You know what the Ravens did? They went to their place in San Francisco 2 weeks ago and smoked them. That's how good Baltimore is. Tony, you're right. One injury, obviously Lamar's the one, could change everything. But if everybody's healthy, 2 months from now, I would be very surprised if the Baltimore Ravens, who are so stout everywhere, kicking game, running game, Lamar is otherworldly, defense, the linebackers, the DBs, they're sick. They're really something. It will take a monumental upset or injury, in my opinion, if they don't win at all.
You're 100% right, because they are complete at every position. And I tell you what, you're right. If Lamar's hurt, they do have a young man on the bench that could maybe get the job done because they got so many other pieces. But Donna, is it anybody else out there we're not talking about? It seems like there's going to be some new teams out there in the playoffs. We lost Donna for a minute. She knew I was going to get on it. That's all right. I'd ask you that, Gary. Who are you looking at, and who do you think is the top team in the playoffs now for the AFC? We're all talking about the Ravens, but if they get that one injury, what is the next team?
Kansas City.
Okay, there you that dog woman. I told you that.
I'm just telling you, like every time. What I like about Kansas City, but that's what I like about the Ravens too. When you talk trash about the Ravens, and this is the first year I've seen this happen. When other teams talk about them, they come to play. I mean, they come to play. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. I mean, that's like beforehand. Today's teams look like everybody's buddy on everybody's team. Everybody loves each other, and it's great. It's supposed to be for the off season, or when Orlando, I guess, down for the Pro Bowls and stuff. But what I like about that purple team is when you talk trash about them, they go and explode on you. Now, The key in Kansas City is that light-skinned brother don't like you talking trash about him. When you talk trash about him, he come to play. Hurt or not, he come to play. He figures it out. So I mean, you know how it is, Tony. You know, when playoff gets here, it's a whole nother player comes out. When I'm great regular season, but get me in the playoffs, I have a whole nother speed. I mean, except things don't hurt that hurt me in the regular season. I block better, I catch better, I do everything better because I just want to win so bad. So, I mean, that's why I won't count Kansas City. I think the Ravens are the best team in the league right now. I just do, but I'm never going to count out that kid in Kansas City. I'm just not. I mean,
and I have to agree with you on that, G. He always seemed to come through. And for you fans that are wondering, yeah, Donna didn't come with the truth, so that's why we took her off for a minute, and we giving her a little glass of water and patting her down and let her get back to the game. But at the same time, when we come back, we'll talk about the picks. That man that was just on, he's gone 5-0 the last 2 weeks. I don't know who's giving him his picks, but we'll find out, and you will see when we come back.
In the Minute with Tony and Donna. You can catch them weekly on their podcast, and you can also subscribe to their YouTube channel, In the Minute. Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus Speakers Bureau offers you various opportunities to connect with former and current players along with Tony and the crew. For more information, go to redmagplus.com Speakers Bureau.
One more thing.
39 years. Not many shows can claim a streak like that, but Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus sure can. Tony McGee, a burgundy and gold legend on the field and for decades now on the air, is once again excited to bring his one-of-a-kind program to his legion of fans across the Mid-Atlantic. How to last so long? By always delivering unique, insightful, entertaining, and oh yeah, fun, lots of fun, week in and week out. Tony's cast includes the legendary Gary Clark, the impeccable Donna Hopkins on the burgundy and gold beat for decades now, as well as icons from Washington football, past and present, not to mention the Pro Football Hall of Famers who flock to Tony's show year in and year out. There is not a show dedicated to football fans like this one, and the proof is in the almost 4 decades that Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus has been the go-to stop for fans who want content that only Tony and crew can deliver. This season promises to be yet another exciting one for the team, the league, the show, and its fans, and we want you to be a part of it. There are sponsorship opportunities to fit your business's goals, 30 and 60-second targeted commercial spots, weekly segments dedicated to promoting your brand, on-air guest opportunities for you to share your company's mission, and so on. We'd love to discuss tailoring a sponsorship program that is just right for you, both in scope and in cost. For sponsorship opportunities, call 703-282-0792 or email info@redmagplus.com. Be a part of this historic season on this historic show, Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus. 39 years and the millions of viewers over those years can't be wrong.
Well, fans, you can take a look at those picks right there, and you can see G-Man is really hot. And at the same time, Donna Hopkins is bringing up the rear. She thinks that Kansas City is still good, and we don't. But I tell you what, Cal, thanks for being here. I got a Cal. You come back. And I tell you what, we do worry about that Kansas City because sometimes dogs don't hunt. So we never say goodbye. Because we're here for 3 more weeks. We say in the minute.
Well, great show today. And we're going to let John Butler, friend of the Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus TV show, take us out with some of his great hits.